Hello and welcome to episode 185 of Sutton and Beck's Family Show. I'm Jason.
And I'm Bill. And let's start off in the NBA.
Okay.
I've been very, very taken with the Miami-Boston series. There's a lot of guys stepping up, a lot of guys playing well. Gordon Hayward came back last night. He's still got a long way to go. He's not going to be the answer by any stretch. But, maybe if the series goes 7 games, he could be a factor in the 7th game.
Well, in a close game, if you can be a 6'9" guy who can pass and shoot, that can give them 15 minutes off the bench, that's pretty huge,
Yeah, he's a good passer. I think Marcus Smart's a better passer than Kemba Walker.
Yeah.
And he doesn't, Marcus Smart always looks to distribute. That's why I like him in there. I've been real impressed with him as he's played. And he hustles constantly. He's like a whirling dervish.
He is. Well, Kemba Walker hasn't been in a big game since he played at UConn like a decade ago. I mean, I feel like...
Yeah, he's been playing for Charlotte. There's no big games in Charlotte.
There's no... You're not even a playoff team most years. Like even like an 8 seed or an outside chance of an 8 seed. So
yeah, I think he's been an 8 seed once or twice, right?
Yeah,
maybe.
But in like a watered down East where you're still a losing record 8 seed, kind of 8 seed. So it's been a long time since because I feel like he's a little shaky, I guess I would say.
Well, I can see that series going 7 games because really, to me right now, Boston could be up 3-0. And I think Boston might have the better team. But the one thing about last night's game that really surprised me was Jimmy Butler took himself out at the end. But he played the entire game like he wasn't really into the game. He didn't have the Jimmy Butler frenetic energy and that passion that you used to see from Jimmy Butler.
Yeah.
So maybe he was ill or something last night. He just did not look himself.
No, he didn't. But I know we talked a little bit about it last week, but I think the Heat are that organization that, again, just because in my lifetime I don't know who else to compare them to, but whether you're talking about, basically the Spurs or the Patriots, of like, you've got a guy like Duncan Robinson who nobody wanted, and the Heat are like, what can you do well? Let's find a way to make it so you can do those things for us.
It's hard to believe he played at Williams College in the NESCAC, and now he's in the NBA.
And playing really well.
Yeah,
they have 3...
really well. And Tyler Hero, for somebody who's on the second team all-rookie team, and his teammate, Nunn, was on the first team all-rookie team.
Yeah.
I don't know how they voted that. I got to tell you that.
No, but I mean, Nunn was a second-round pick. Hero was a 13th overall pick, and he was pretty highly regarded coming out. Duncan Robinson, and then they have 2 other...
really playing well, right? He played great last night.
Yeah, and then you have 2 other guys that are undrafted free agents on this team, and like... They seem to know they seem to be like, we want a certain kind of player, attitude, mentality.
Yeah.
And they're building their organization based on that, and it's clearly worked.
Absolutely. I'm a big Heat fan. I'm a big Celtics fan, but as I said last week on the show, and I'll say again today, when LeBron is playing with this kind of passion and this kind of determination and this kind of aggressiveness, and Rondo's playing playoff Rondo, and AD is having a great time playing with both of them, I just don't see the Lakers losing.
No, the Rondo factor is enormous because they didn't have him when they looked a little shaky early on, but he looks like, at times he looks like, one of the best players on the court. Like he can just ball out, and that's something that, again, you just wonder when does playoff Rondo magic run out, but it just never seems to. Like, no matter how many, shaky regular seasons he has, you put him in a big game or a high-profile game, he just comes to life.
Well, we didn't talk about it last week because it happened after our show, but what do you think about the battle for LA not shaping up and the Clippers blowing a 3-1 lead?
It wasn't shocking. I mean, Paul George is Paul George, For the most part, like he's a great athlete, good defender. He's, everything you want. Like he's one of those guys you look at and it's like 6'8", athletic wing. He can pass. He plays defense. He can score from anywhere, but he doesn't come up big. Like you put him, Harden. I think sadly Westbrook is on that team of guys you wouldn't want in a Game 7. Because Paul George seems to shrink from the moment. And, again, at the beginning of the year, he's like championship or bust. And at the end of the year, he's like, we never said that. Even though they have him quoted as saying that. And
Well, the Clippers are obviously going to have to add something to that team.
Without losing Harrell and some of the other guys they already have, that was the problem, you know?
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see because he'll spend the money, no doubt, and he's got that arena under construction, so he's got to be competitive for a long time in that market.
Right.
So let's see what happens.
But you look right now, the Clippers, the disappointed teams, right? You have your Clippers, your Bucks, and your Sixers. And it seems like the name there, all three of those teams are reaching for is Chris Paul. Because I don't know who else is even out there, you know?
Well, yeah, and Oklahoma City's going to be in the driver's seat because they'll get a good offer for him if people think he's going to be the difference maker.
Right.
If he's going to be the guy to get you to the NBA Finals, you got to pay to get him.
But if I'm Oklahoma City, like I know a future first round pick could be a good pick no matter when it is, but from the Chris Paul trade, from the Shea Gilgeous-Alexander trade and everything else, like they have like 7 or 8 picks over the next few years in the first round. So they don't even desperately need like a first round pick. I mean, I'm sure they'd rather have something they probably can't get, which is, some sort of, young developmental player along with a pick. And it's so crazy because when they got Chris Paul, it was like, we're taking Chris Paul, but we're getting a lot of picks and a good player. And that's why we're doing it, assuming they were going to eat that contract. And now they can probably trade Chris Paul. Now he became a valuable asset for them.
Right, and they're going to get all that cap relief from letting that contract go.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be interesting. But I think if I'm Chris Paul, I'm surveying what's out there. I would probably go to Milwaukee.
I was about to say, if you're Chris Paul and you had some sort of sway, because supposedly it's, Philly wants him. I don't know what kind of fit he is in Philly, though, because Ben Simmons has still got to be your point guard running your offense for the most part. But, Milwaukee, and they were saying that, the Clippers sort of lacked like a floor general and a leader. Because Kawhi is,
Kawhi's a quiet guy. He's not a leader.
He's not a leader.
He leads through the way he plays, but sometimes you need, like we saw with Marcus Smart yelling at everybody, and then the Celtics come back and play well. I mean, sometimes you need a vocal leader.
Right. And Kawhi does have that, cyborg personality, and he's got that mercenary mentality where I'll go wherever I'm at, I'm going to play. But, you also look at the way they played this year. And I know it's a weird year, but all that load management, all that time off, and then, Sweet Lou, Chicken Wings Williams, leaving the bubble to go to a straight. I know it's for, just a lot of distractions on that team, too.
That team desperately needs leadership.
And you got to wonder if they need a new coach.
Interesting. And then I wonder where D'Antoni's going to end up.
Well, like they said, he doesn't seem to be the kind of guy that would want Joel Embiid as his player, right? A guy that's best used in the post, not a run up and down the floor guy because he's not going to be in shape. It's hard to say, but I think 6 years in the NBA, we can say that a guy that keeps saying he's going to be in shape doesn't get in shape. Just like regular people in real life probably isn't going to get in shape.
Well, it's going to be an interesting week in the NBA. It's going to be fun to watch as this goes down to the wire.
Yes.
I don't think either team could extend the Lakers more than 5 games.
Really?
No. I like both of those teams, but I just have never seen LeBron play like this. And now he's all pissed off because of the MVP thing. He's playing like now he reminds me of Kobe and Michael. And that's when I was always critical of him because I said he never seems to want it as bad as Jordan did or as Kobe did. And that's what made those guys that special player. And now he's showing me that he does. So,
yeah.
Katie bar the door.
And I also like that he's continued to be a social commentator. Because you see what he said about Lori Loughlin, Aunt Jessie?
Yeah.
It is true.
It is true. I applaud him for saying that.
Yeah, you look at the disparity in the economy in this country in white and black, and it's like rich people get to do what she did, and white people get to do what she did. First off, she got off with almost no sentence after, taking away advantage from other people, and then she gets to pick her prison. It's insane. It just is.
Yeah, to pick your prison, that's ridiculous. Or get commuted because you're Trump's friend, so it's bad stuff.
Very bad. Mm-hmm. Definitely.
How about the NHL? You're my hockey guy.
I mean, like I said, since the Penguins have been out, I haven't been watching nearly as much. Obviously, the work's knocking back up too. But I mean, it's been fun. It hasn't quite felt like playoff hockey, but
Well, I'm rooting hard for the Lightning. They were just exhausted last night, and they just got down. They had some bad breaks, and they had some shots hit the post and not go in. They had a lot of shots. I mean, can't fault the effort. And they haven't ruled Stamkos out. Now they ruled him out of game one, but that's all they said. So we'll have to see where that goes. But my only fear on the Lightning is that they're not physical enough, and they get knocked around quite a bit. And when you see the other team scoring goals, it's because they have tough guys standing in front of the goal, and nobody on the Lightning's moving them out. And I'm saying, again, I'm not even that knowledgeable about hockey, but that's what I'm watching. I'm watching a team that I would have to classify as very talented, very fast, very offensively minded, and soft.
It's weird though because that won the Penguins 2 cups, and then Rutherford decided they needed to be more physical, and then they had the debauchery of the Ryan Reeves trade and some other ones. But I was talking to a fellow Penguins fan at work, and during my lifetime, I've got the Lemieux Yager years, which were fantastic, and during Crosby's years, they've been to, I think, 5 conference finals. They've won 2 cups. So I feel like I've had more hockey fandom success than anyone, and yet I look at some of the trades they've made over the years, and you get that infuriation of like, if they had ifs and buts and all that sort of stuff. But I've been trying to be just I'm like, as a Penguins fan, I'm like, I've got to watch 5 cups in my lifetime. I'm probably
that's pretty good, right?
That's pretty good.
And that's like I said, we've had 6 Super Bowls and 5 cups in your lifetime.
Yeah, I mean, I can't really
better than that.
I can't ask for much more than that. Yeah, so
no, and let's see, and you had 1 World Series.
Yeah, but I mean, I really count from like when I can pay attention on. So I feel like the Steelers have been in the first Super Bowl I really remember is the Steelers when the Steelers should have been the MVP when Neil O'Donnell should have been MVP of that Super Bowl. That's the first one I really remember.
Yep.
For throwing terrible passes to Larry Allen and making Larry Allen tons of money. And then we obviously got to go.
A lot of money.
Yeah. And then obviously getting to go to 2 Super Bowl wins is beyond most sports fans. That's
you've seen 2 Super Bowl wins.
Mm-hmm.
Well, let's go into the NFL. So the Steelers are 2-0. They look really good in one game and really good for a quarter today.
Really good for a quarter today. I did notice.
They ended up with 7. They got a sack in that last drive, right?
Yeah.
So they got 7 sacks.
7 sacks.
Still, 7 sacks and 2 turnovers, and it still came down to the last possession.
Well, they had a lot of penalty yards.
A lot. I can hardly wait to see the stats because penalty yards went easily over 100. And I was pleasantly surprised by having to play 2 different people in the offensive line. So 3 people that weren't supposed to start the season as the starters on that offensive line. And I think Roethlisberger only got sacked once.
I did notice before we get into more specific games, like kicking's as bad as it's been since the merger, I think. That was the worst week 1 kicking.
They missed a lot of extra points and field goals last week. Absolutely.
And we were talking about, Deontay Johnson's had a couple of drops, and there's been some missed route running in some of the games we watched. It seems like, I think we're seeing the good teams still prevail, but I think you're still seeing some pretty rusty football. Where, teams aren't quite in sync. But, I mean, when we look at our picks from last week, like, I know Jacksonville lost today, but Jacksonville put up a hell of a game against Tennessee today.
They put up a hell of a fight.
I mean, they're 1-1, and they don't look like they're tanking. They kind of remind me of the Dolphins of last year, where they're like, we're not here to tank. We're here to win.
And they play the Dolphins on Thursday night TV this week.
Mm-hmm. And the Dolphins.
Speaking of Thursday night TV, I was very impressed with Joe Burrow.
As a football fan, yes. As a Steeler fan, he scares the crap out of me now. Just, it's another.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But, he looked really, really good.
I know he's a little older I think he's older than Lamar Jackson. But he looks very poised. I know Matty Ice has the nickname Matty Ice, but Joe Burrow does seem like he's got the quote unquote ice ice in the veins.
Yeah.
Like he threw some really nice throws. He's
a prime time Thursday night NFL game. Basically really the continuation of the first week of the season, and he looked really good. He held his own.
He's mobile. He moves well in the pocket. He can get you yards on the ground. I know we just had the draft, but he's slightly bigger than I remember him being. I thought he was more like a not Drew Brees size, but like he's 6'4". He's a big dude. He's a big kid.
Well, any surprises to you after this is week 2? Any surprises so far?
Like I said, Jacksonville a little bit. I didn't.
Vikings being 0-2, right?
The Vikings being 0-2. We both sort of thought Detroit was going to be a little bit better.
Yeah, and they've lost 2 games now.
I had kind of written the Rams off. I don't know why exactly, but they're 2-0 and they've looked really good at doing it. I think I had kind of written, Jared Goff off as a quarterback. I just sort of shouldered them.
I would say I agree with that. I think I had too.
As I look at the standings, people thought Dallas was the Super Bowl team, and I know they came back and won today. We can talk about that game because that game was just insane. Atlanta was up, a lot, and then they were still up 39-30 with under 2 minutes to play. So, and they somehow lost that game. And as you said,
like are talking offline. Obviously the Falcons players did not understand the onside kick rule, and they let it roll 10 yards, and the Cowboys jumped on it. Whereas they could have just picked it up at any time, and that would have been the end of the game. They would have won.
Yeah, it was like everybody, like the Cowboys were waiting because they had to wait for it to go 10 yards, and no one knows why the Falcons players were waiting.
But it's going to be an unpleasant special teams meeting this week. I'll tell you that. Baltimore looks unbelievable.
Yes, they do.
I've got the Houston-Baltimore game on now. Baltimore's winning 10-7. Lamar Jackson is ridiculous. He can outrun anybody.
Yeah, and when they roll him out, what are you supposed to do?
You can't catch him. When you roll him out, you can't catch him.
Yeah, the second you come up as a defense, he just drops the ball over your heads for 10, 15 yards to whoever's open. And if you stay back, he's going to blow right past your defensive linemen that are chasing him. So, it's like a cheat code. I guess the other thing, I guess I shouldn't be surprised that a 13-3 team with a Hall of Fame quarterback who's extra pissed off because they drafted another quarterback in the first round was 2-0 and looks really good doing it. But I don't think I think I picked Green Bay to come in third.
And I picked him to win because I just said I don't bet against Aaron Rodgers when and I figured he'd be pissed off.
Yeah,
but they were close last year, so we'll see here. But Lamar Jackson is just killing. The Chiefs, the Texans haven't stopped them yet.
Oh, and I guess I'm surprised that the Chicago Bears under Mitch Trubisky are 2-0.
I'm shocked. I won't go surprised on that. I'll go shocked because we listened to the talking heads, and we got caught up in it. And I guess Trubisky was, when he came back in that game against Detroit, I was shocked. And then today, they won again. And he played well again today.
And he played well. And I understood the logic because you bring Nick Foles in, and unless Nick Foles blows everybody away, you have to start Trubisky because if you start him on the bench and you need him, you probably ruined him.
You ruined him, yeah.
So you had to give him that shot. But I think everybody thought, they'd be 0-1. He'd be terrible in game 2, and we'd see Foles from this point on. And that doesn't look like that's what's happening at all. He's looked really, really good.
Well, the Dolphins are 0-2. They're probably going to be 0-3 after Wednesday night playing Jacksonville.
I still like starting.
When do you play Tua?
I almost feel like a parent talking about Tua because I'm like, as soon as he's healthy. But if the doctors clear him, I think you got to get him out there, get him the reps he needs. I just know that he was really fragile in college, and they talked about him not being ready for the season. I know his rehab has gone really well, but if I'm the Dolphins, I love Brian Flores as my coach. I feel like I got a nice culture down there. I got some pieces I'm still building. So if I have any doubts about him being ready to take NFL hits, especially in this weird, and if maybe they want to wait till the line completely gels and they feel like, things are a little more in place. But I mean, I guess as soon as he's ready, you got to play him because, you know, everyone likes Fitzpatrick, but I mean, and I guess I am both not surprised and surprised that Philly's 0-2.
Well,
I mean, neither of us like that division.
There's a lot of Carson Wentz criticism.
Yeah.
Now, I wasn't buying into it. I just thought I liked him. I liked him as a player.
Yeah.
But obviously, something's up.
Mm-hmm.
And then we had a lot of injuries again today. I mean, Saquon Barkley went out.
And he looks like he might be done for the year.
Garoppolo went out in the first half.
Bosa. Yeah, Bosa and Solomon both two.
Bosa. Yep. Locke for Denver. And I think he's going to be out for a while because I think he either dislocated his shoulder or broke a collarbone.
Yeah.
Somewhere in it. You can tell by the way he landed very awkwardly.
He really did, yeah. And Bud Dupree, I mean, he smacked him. So.
And it was just like he was in an odd position when he got hit.
Yeah.
Because he was looked like he was stumbling a little bit. And then he was trying to catch himself, and then he got smacked down. I'm really looking forward to the Patriots-Seahawks game.
I am too, because I mean, we obviously just from living in New England, having gone to undergrad in New England, and you taught there for a while. Like we have a lot of New England people in our life, and they are just I think they feel a little bit like the Steelers do. We feel like we're a really good team, but the Ravens and the Chiefs are out there. But I want to see what this Cam Newton Patriot-led team is against a really good team.
Yeah, I think it's going to be. I have to give the NFL credit. I mean, the schedule has been jam-packed with great matchups the first couple of weeks.
Yeah, I can't deny that. No.
I mean, Houston comes out. Their schedule's Kansas City, Baltimore, the first two games. Seattle, New England's going to be a great game. I think it's going to be a great game. Anyhow, I don't know that, but I think it's going to be a great game.
That's the hope, for sure.
Really good matchups.
Yeah. And the Jets look like they might be the worst team now. I know we said it was going to be Jacksonville, but the Jets just look bad. Because Cincinnati, I feel like you got hope. I feel like Denver, you got a lot of nice young pieces. You got some hope. The Giants, I mean, I'm trying to think of all the 0-2 teams. Atlanta, Carolina, Detroit, Minnesota. I still feel like if you're the Jets, I feel the most hopeless.
Yeah, I don't see much in Carolina either.
No,
Those
but
would be the two that I would be the most concerned about.
Carolina, I got McCaffrey, and I mean they've had a tough schedule so far. I mean, I at least have somebody.
He get hurt today too.
Yeah, but if you're who do you even watch on the Jets? Because Sam Darnold, I don't think you want to have that jersey rocking anymore. I don't think that's the best. Like if you were going to buy a Jets jersey, it would have been Jamal Adams probably or Sam Darnold. And Jamal Adams is in Seattle, and Sam Darnold looks like he just might not be the guy. He might be, like you said, another USC bust.
It's hard. It's hard. And, I mean, both New York teams are 0-2, right?
They are.
Tough times in the Big Apple.
But again, I feel like, Daniel Jones has shown a little something in his first year and a half.
Oh, yeah. Daniel Jones is legit. He just doesn't have enough tools.
Right, but as you start to build around him, like I said, like Cincinnati's 0-2, but I've watched Joe Burrow play, and if I'm a Cincinnati fan, I'm like, I've got that football hope,
And there's nothing different. If you're a Bengals fan, you're used to going 0-2.
Right, but now instead of Andy,
now you got something because this kid can play.
Yeah, you don't have Andy Dalton, and you're not hoping that the backup from Alabama from 2 years ago is better than people think. Now it's like we've got Joe Burrow. We've got some talented receivers. We're going to be a team to reckon with come forward. And Denver, I think Locke was looking pretty good, and I like Cortland Sutton and Judy. I mean, they look like they've got some stuff there too.
They had a nice core of receivers.
Yeah.
That kid from Penn State had a big game, Hamrick.
Exactly.
I mean, he had a big game. Judy seems to have a problem going over the middle, though.
A little bit.
He seemed to have some alligator arms over the middle.
Well, he got hit real hard by Devin Bush, where they almost called a penalty. So,
where he'll probably get fined for that.
That was a close bang play, and I don't think he was trying to get the head, but I think they might have inadvertent helmet head. But I suppose, I think the Jets, like you said, Carolina, Atlanta might be my three most sad people. if I'm a team. And I know Minnesota loves their football, and they're probably not looking very happy right now with 0-2. And Kirk Cousins looking like Kirk Cousins again. But, and the Cardinals are looking really good. Just, there's a lot of good football being played.
Yeah, Cardinals are up 17-0, I think. And I told you, I really like the Cardinals.
Oh, yeah. Well, they built like a nice little thing. DeAndre Hopkins obviously rolled right in and fit in perfectly. And then again, I think there's just something about I remember when, the Steelers drafted Roethlisberger and you saw those signs and it's like, if you have a good young quarterback, it's hard not to be excited about your football team. Because you have to have a quarterback to win 90% of the time. I know you've got the years that,
So interestingly enough, we always talk about, Mike Vrabel was a guy that couldn't start for the Steelers against New England. He's playing really well, right?
Right.
The new one is L.J. Ford.
Yeah.
And he's playing really well for Baltimore. He just ran a fumble down to the 1-yard line from 40 yards out.
He did get a lot of playing time for the Steelers, but he wasn't going to supplant Watt or Dupree,
Yeah.
And he didn't quite fit into their scheme because the Steelers still like going big on the ends. And, that's the salary cap situation,
Unfortunately.
But, we ended up with, James Harrison, one of my all-time favorite Steelers, who also spent time on the Ravens practice squad that couldn't get on their field,
Speaking of which, have you seen the new James Harrison commercial?
I have not.
James Harrison is for one of the betting services, I think it is. And he shows up at this guy's house. And he says the guy's fantasy wish, he wanted to learn more about football. And so he said his wish was he was going to get to be tackled by James Harrison. And so James Harrison shows up at his house. And the guy says, why don't you get tackled? And James Harrison doesn't get paid if he doesn't tackle you. And so he chases him down the street and tackles him. But he looks like, JC looks like as ripped as a human being is. He looks ridiculous now.
Yeah. Oh, and then this is slight entertainment / Steeler news / just happy news for people. Ryan Shazier is now part of the Ringer NFL network.
Nice.
It's just nice to see because he officially retired from football. He'd hung out with the Steelers for a long time, and now he's doing commentary on football for the Ringer. And it's just nice seeing him, move into a different phase of his life.
Yeah. It's a tragic situation.
But again, it's nice, that it's nice to see, he's out there, he's working again, he's doing some stuff, and he seems to,
So the answer is, does not having fans affect your enjoyment of the NFL game? So my answer is no. Doesn't bother me at all.
No. I know after, again, sorry, I watched the whole Steeler game, so that's going to be a lot of my references, but when they showed Chase Claypool on the sideline after his big 84-yard touchdown, and they panned up and you saw it's like a shot of him from down low, and you looked up and you saw all the yellow empty seats. It takes you back for a second, but it doesn't make me enjoy the football any less now. Like I said, I love watching the NBA. Hockey's been good. Like I said, I know some people don't like TV hockey, but I like TV hockey, and it's just I haven't really missed the fans. I haven't watched much tennis, but I've heard that tennis is greatly affected. Even though tennis is where you have to be quiet, but you get those moments of, obviously when things happen. And those moments not being there, I guess have said people have felt it feels kind of dead. But like I said, I haven't really watched any tennis, so I can't really comment on that. I think the only tennis I saw was Joker's inadvertent hit that lady in the throat with a tennis ball and got thrown out of the tournament.
Yeah.
And again, his reputation is he does that a lot.
I watched some college football. Still no great matchups yet.
No.
Oklahoma State lost their starting quarterback on the third series of the game. And they put in a second quarterback who was atrocious. And then in the fourth quarter, they put in a freshman, and he led them to a victory.
And college football is just in that weird spot right now where there's, now the Big Ten says they're coming back October 24th. You're not going to have any out-of-conference games. The Pac-12 hasn't come back yet, right? They haven't announced anything?
They haven't announced anything yet. But like we said on the show, we said there was not going to be any spring football games.
Right.
And we said that a month ago,
Yeah.
2 months ago, and it just was never going to happen. And, eventually, you knew you knew that money was going to talk. And you knew that a college football playoff being played, and with Ohio State and some other teams thinking they have a real good shot to get in, it was going to happen. So, not surprised.
No.
We'll see what happens. I mean, next week's the first week of the SEC season.
Yeah, like I said, I think it's just being the season seems so convoluted and everything's everywhere. Like it's slightly harder to get excited as if you don't have a team, Like if you're an Alabama fan or down here a lot of LSU fans, you're pumped. But if you're more of just a general college football person, it's kind of hard to get a grip on what the season is and who's and all those sorts of things.
Yeah, no, it should be fun. The game should be getting good, and then there's some really announced the Big Ten schedule yesterday. And Ohio State's not playing Wisconsin. 3 out of the 3 schools that are going to be decent, and somehow Ohio State escapes them all again. So I don't know. I'm not saying it's conspiracy theory, but I'm saying that makes sense to me.
No. And their plan is what? To have their seasons, they can still be in the bowl season? They're hoping?
Yep, they're going to have 8 games.
Yeah. It'll be interesting. I'm excited to see.
Looks interesting.
Yeah.
So entertainment, we're still on the bow.
Still the battle. Like you said, last week was a little slow.
Last week was a little slow, but I'm expecting more tonight. Excited about it. I taped the third day, which I haven't watched yet. And Mom says it's got comparisons to Lost and some other things. Jude Law's in it. I'll probably try and watch that this week and see what I think. But like I said, I haven't watched it yet, so I don't know.
Yeah, we're saving that as we put that on our watch list, and we're saving it as because it's a limited series.
Yeah.
So we're saving that. We're gonna wait till all the episodes are there and do like a long weekend binge, or watch it over the course of a week and just get it all at once. Because with we already have Lovecraft Country and The Vow going as a weekly show. We didn't want to add another weekly show into the mix. We thought it'd just be too much.
Yeah, I hear you. Well, it's been great for sports watching. There's been so many things on. I mean, the other night I had football, the NBA, the NHL, and I was still watching the Pirates that week. But now I'm not watching the Pirates anymore. But I had 4 things I was trying to watch. And then yesterday I had 4 again because I had the U.S. Open I wanted to watch. So, unbelievable. But it's going to be like that next year, too, because all these things are going to start late, and they're all going to be stacked up again. So, fun, interesting times.
And as somebody that works for a pretty big network show, we're filming officially tomorrow. And a lot of the other shows and movies, they're back up. We figure, we've done our best to provide a safe set, and hopefully that's all we can do. And so hopefully you get some new entertainment coming soon too.
Well, hopefully it'll be good, and there won't be any issues or delays or anything, and so it'll be good.
Yeah.
I didn't have any food moments other than Mom's lasagna, which was killer, and everybody saw it on social media. I actually showed it being put together in stages, and I showed the final product. And your Mom's lasagna, she cooked the gravy for at least 8 hours, and we put some beef ribs in it for the beef in the sauce this time.
Okay.
And it was beef ribs. It made the sauce really good.
Oh, I guess I did have a slight food moment. We luckily in New Orleans we missed yet another hurricane that swept the other way. But
Yeah.
we were off on Monday and Tuesday. We were off Monday of last week because everybody thought the hurricane was coming. So I went to Whole Foods and I got some Cool House ice cream.
Oh, Cool House is good.
Yeah. And we got s'mores.
What flavor did you get?
We got s'mores.
Maybe the cream?
No, we got s'mores and we got chocolate molten lava cake.
Okay.
And chocolate molten lava cake is just chocolate with 2 different types of chocolate chunks inside of it. I think it says
And
one.
it's down the street from where Linda's office is in LA.
Ah, okay. Yeah,
If they have ice cream sandwiches there, Cool House has an amazing ice cream sandwich with chocolate chip cookies, and cookies and cream ice cream.
yeah. Unfortunately,
Really.
Yeah, they only have the non-dairy one because Cool House also for the lactose intolerant people in the audience. They make a lot of non-dairy ice creams. So,
Okay.
but they have Jenny's too.
I just had the eye test, and it's really good.
Yeah, they have Jenny's ice cream there too. I've heard it's very good.
Jenny's is good. That's out of Columbus.
Okay. I have noticed I'm seeing a lot more stuff that appears on Goldbelly in stores now.
Yeah.
Which is pretty cool.
Really cool. Well, I'm excited for next week. I'm excited to finish up these NBA playoffs, which should be pretty close to being done by the time we have our show next week.
I think so.
We'll be ready for the finals. And then another good week of NFL scheduling. Tonight's the Saints and the Raiders. I think it'll be an interesting game.
Yeah. I think it's going to be a very interesting game because I don't think the Saints are as good as people think they are. As good as they played last week.
We'll get to see what Las Vegas' stadium looks like.
Yeah.
LA Stadium, SoFi, where the Rams and Chargers played. I can't hardly wait to go to an event there. It looks off the hook.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
It's really good.
All right, so until next week, keep wearing your masks, stay safe, enjoy
Stay
sports.
healthy. Make sure you register to vote.
Yeah.
Have a good week.